The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, never has the willingness of the minority to abuse the process for purely political ends been clearer than today. Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker. Does whining come out of my time? Mr. Speaker, this bill was voted on in committee in a multi-day markup. A number of amendments were offered and debated. One amendment, offered by the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Shays, aimed directly at this point, and the language was accepted by us and is in the bill. And it says that nothing in here shall create a new fiduciary duty. And it was intended to achieve exactly what we are now told this is sought to achieve. If members genuinely thought it was inadequate, they had the rest of the markup to try to amend it. And we are here under an open rule. If the members thought that the bill that we had voted on and which they had every chance to amend needed further amendment, the democratic procedure, the procedure that shows respect for the process, would have been to file an amendment. Had this been an amendment, we could have debated it for more than 5 minutes. We could even have read it for more than 2. This was delivered to me about 2 minutes before we started. I am not one of the more modest members of the body, I concede, but I do not credit myself with being on my own, off the top of my head, not having practiced law ever except for the fact that I remember the bar. I'm not able fully to analyze this. It might be something very useful. And people who are genuinely interested in adding it to the bill could have offered it in committee. They could have offered it under the open rule. We could have debated it. We have had a large number of roll calls. We just had 7 roll calls. Now, we have been told in the past, well, I had to do a recommit. You wouldn't give me any other chance. Members on the other side had every opportunity at the committee and in this open rule fully to debate this and to offer amendments. They chose not to. They chose instead to legislate by ambush, to wait until it was not possible for any serious... Oh, Mr. Speaker, I had underestimated the tenderness of the feelings of the members opposite. I confess to insensitivity, but I would not confess to the disrespect for our legislative process that leads members. Of course not. The gentleman asked for a courtesy. Had the gentleman offered this in committee, I would have been glad to have a dialogue with him. Had he seriously wanted this amendment and offered it during the floor, we could have talked about it. But to wait until the last minute when we can't read it, to refuse to take advantage of an open rule, to refuse to offer it committee, and now to ask me to yield to you? Of course not. Now, I will want to emphasize again, this may or may not be good. I will guarantee the members here will look at this. We have a way to go on this bill. It has to go to the Senate. If, in fact, we need further to tighten the language, and it was the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Shays, is a member that we adopted that sought to do this. If the gentleman from Florida is right, Mr. Shays was inadequate. If the gentleman from Florida was right, Mr. Shays' amendment doesn't do the job. We will analyze it seriously. But I urge members, do not, on a serious legal issue, when we have had 2 minutes to look at a complex legal principle, vote to put it into a bill when the members advocating it deliberately refuse to subject it to an open democratic process. I hope this is repudiated.